Good afternoon, and welcome back to our third community conversation for Hispanic Heritage Month. We call this series of events Aurora Avanzando, which means Aurora Forward. Certainly the conversation we had the past 2 weeks with our Latinx leaders at City Hall inspired us, empower us to show all of us we are moving forward here in the city of Aurora. Today, we continue the conversation by focusing on how we are moving Aurora forward in our education community. And we are joined by three phenomenal educators who have had a tremendous impact in the classroom, at the building level, and at the district leadership level. Some even have the distinction of growing up in the very same school district they now help to lead. So they are moving Aurora forward from a very personal level. Let me say that since we were having these series of conversations at noon each week, it made it difficult to have classroom educators join us and be removed from their students, which means this is one of those conversations we may want to move into the evening, as community conversations throughout the year. That way we can make sure we keep in touch with our invaluable educators that we love so much. But today, we are well represented by three stars who are leading and preparing teachers and students for lifelong success. Today, we have Dr. Rita Guzman, the Executive Director of Language Acquisition and Early Learning at East Aurora School District 131. Dr. Guzman, how you doing?
Hi.
You mind if I call you Rita?
No, yes, please.
Thank you very much. And Victor Perez, the Assistant Principal of Washington Middle School in West Aurora School District 129. How you doing, Victor? Good to see you, brother.
Doing well. Nice to see you, Mayor.
Oh, man. And Jalitza Martinez, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources at East Aurora School District 131. You may also recognize Jalitza, Jolly as we affectionately call her, as the host of our Aurora Eats video series. How you doing, Jolly?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you, and congratulations on your promotion to Assistant Superintendent for Human
Thank
Resources,
you.
East Aurora High School, EA. Now, I'm just gonna say that once, Victor. I'm gonna say it once, but I see we got I bleed black and red, brother. I'm not wearing it today because I want to show you some love. You know what I'm saying? But,
Out on numbers, so I went neutral.
All right, let's get into it. I'm going to turn over to each of you to share more about yourselves, your background, and what you do in your current roles. We'll start with you, Rita.
So hola, and I am honestly honored to be part of this conversation. So thank you for the invitation. My name is Rita Guzman. I'm the Executive Director of Language Acquisition. I am currently in charge of all language programs in the district, basically making sure that students are proficient in all language domains, listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Of our dual language program, our world language programs, our grants that are associated with that. And just a little bit about myself. I started as a bilingual teacher. After bilingual teacher, I, moved up to be EL special ed specialist. After that, I, coaching teachers and parents at IEP meetings and supporting administration. After that, I became an assistant principal. After an assistant principal, I became a principal in East Aurora, and now, and then a director, and then executive director. So I am here to serve in any capacity that I possibly can as the community avanza. So I love the name because that is actually like my passion. It's a cognate, avanzando, avanza for our future. So it's a great pathway.
Absolutely. And we call that moving on up here in the city of
Yes.
Aurora. So congratulations on all your accomplishments. And we appreciate having you aboard talking to us about Latino leadership here in the city of Aurora and in our education. It's very important. And let's go on to Jolly. Next, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your current role, and your educational background?
Yeah, absolutely. Jalitza Martinez, better known as Jolly. And currently I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Staff and Student Services. And so I oversee human resources on one end, and then I also assist in overseeing student services, which includes special education services for the district. So it's a great opportunity to work under the leadership of Dr. Norell. I work very closely with Dr. Campbell as well, and we have an amazing superintendent who supports a lot of really great initiatives that push our students forward. So that is what I'm doing now in my current role, and being able to learn from powerhouses has been a really great opportunity. I actually started my career in education. So I first I started at Dietrich Elementary School in their kindergarten program. And then I graduated from East Aurora High School as a Tomcat. I went to Aurora University for all of my undergrad and all of my graduate programs. But my first educational career was a school social worker. And I had wanted to be a school social worker because I wanted to be able to impact students who had similar upbringing to mine, or students who had, challenges. And I wanted to be able to be a cheerleader for them. I wanted to be able to give them skills to work through those challenges, because I know that they have what it takes to be great. And so I sat in that role for 5 years as a school social worker in East Aurora. And then I went on to be an assistant principal. And then I served as a principal for about 2 years here in East Aurora as well. And then I came to the role that I'm in now. So that is my background.
Wow. Powerful Latina, making things happen right here in the city of Aurora from District 131, where I'm from as well. So thank you for being with us, Jalitza. We really appreciate it. Look forward to our deep conversation about all of our cultures. Let's go next to Victor Perez. What's up, brother? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your current role, and your past positions and educational background.
You got it. Currently, Victor Perez, I'm the assistant principal of operations here at Washington Middle School. I build schedules for our students' needs based on where they're at. We house a bilingual program here for our middle school students. So working with ELL, World Relief kids coming from all over, making sure that they have the absolute best in front of them, and making sure that this is a safe and welcoming place. My job is building their schedules, making sure that the building is running and looking good for a 60-year-old building. And I think we do a great job of it here at Washington. I've been the dean before, and that kind of just deals a lot with student discipline, student relationships here in student services, reaching out to families, really believing and trusting in the restorative practices instead of punitive practices, and knowing that any one of us could make a mistake, and it's how we recover for that, and when we're down, how we get up. Born and raised east side of Aurora, Spring Street, all the way 700 block. Faith, family, and education are what got me here. And so part of that is an old Sacred Heart kid, no longer there, but still in our hearts. So just went to a lot of the Catholic schools over on the east side, and then found a place here when I was going to Aurora University. I was a night custodian here at Nancy Hill, and it took Cindy Larry, current principal of Herget, who was the principal at that time. She tapped me on the shoulder and said, I need you in the classroom. And that was that one person who believed in me and kind of led me to be a paraprofessional, then a bilingual teacher for many years across the district in many roles in elementary, and then moved down here to Washington as a bilingual teacher, moved on to be a social studies teacher, and then said I'm going to take it a step further and became the dean, and now the assistant principal. So really, all my jobs have always entailed making sure our place is clean and welcoming, right? So that's from the tip top, any adults in the building doing their job to make sure their kids have a place that they feel safe, feel warm, feel welcome.
Brother, did I just hear you say you went from being a night janitor to assistant principal? Brother,
Yes.
That's what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
talking about. That's exactly
Yes.
what I'm talking about, man.
I miss it sometimes.
Yeah, right. The simple life, right.
Mhm.
Back when, but now guess what? Kids, young people see and hear your story and see where you've come from, where you've grown to, and they know, and they look at you and say, I look just like you look, and they say, maybe I can do that too. Maybe, some people in my family are folks that work in retail or work in restaurants, but I can be whatever I want to be because I see Mr. Perez is doing it.
Yeah. One of my absolute favorite things I do here at Washington is when we have our promotion ceremony at the end of the year. I'm the one in charge of reading the names. And it's always amazing to me how many kids come up to me and say, that you're one of the first people to read my name correctly. And that means the world. And knowing that what that means to identify them and give them that value of who they are as a people, who they are, that's the name their parents gave them. But at the end of the day, it really is, you're looking at a child of immigrants who works with children of immigrants and is living the American dream. Absolutely.
My man. You know what? Then let's jump right into it. Let's talk about, what role does culture and heritage play in the educational process? What you do, as teachers and educators, and from your own personal experience to the experience that you have with your students, what role does that play? How is that important to you? I'll let you finish up, Victor. How is it important that you're a Latino and that you're helping young Latino boys and girls, dream and look forward to accomplishing those dreams and those goals that they have?
It absolutely means the world to me. My mother was one of the most educated people in the small village in Mexico where she was from, and she went to 8th grade. And my father went to 3rd grade, and that was just not the route for them. The route for them was to come here and build a better life, and they always knew school was the route to it. So when I see these students and when I talk to those parents, that's always in the back of my brain, as they want a better life, as I do, as all of us do, as parents or as caretakers. We want a better life for kids than what we had. We live pretty good lives in my perspective. We still want to keep avanzando, keep moving forward, always, siempre para adelante. And for me, it's not so much that culture or growing up in Aurora or who I am. It's not a tether that brings me back. It's more like a compass. It guides me. So when I look at these students, I'm able to talk to them about the foods they eat, the jokes that they're making. We laugh a lot here at Washington when I'm able to tell a kid, you better shape up or else that chancla, because I got a Mexican mama and I know if I make this phone call what it means. That's powerful. That's powerful because they only know that it's not just the narrative they're getting from the other. It's the narrative they're getting from someone who understands it and understands what the end goal is. The end goal is to make sure that student gets to that next level. And so it's not about, I'm calling home to tell you how bad of a kid you have. I'm not calling home to tell you how you've made a mistake or make you feel lesser than whatever the norm may be. It's about how do we empower and how do we keep moving forward and let them know this is what this kid needs right now. And if I'm the one that they need, I'm here.
Man, I totally relate, as to your background as far as your parents. My mom was a teenager, when I was born, 16 years old, 17 when my brother was born. And my grandfather, who was the father figure in my life and gave me that foundation, only had a 6th grade education, but that was the smartest man I ever met in my life, and taught me who to be, the man that I am today, who, how to give back and make a difference. Let's talk a little bit to you, Jalitza. I've had the opportunity. I know you're in the best and oldest school district right now, but you've worked in a number of different school districts in and around Aurora. And one of the ones that you worked in, I had the privilege to come, visit young people. Like I think there were kindergartens, when you're assistant principal on the west side. And then when you went to the far east side in 204, something you said to me once when we were having a conversation and you were coming back to be an assistant principal at Cowherd, I think. You said, I feel at home. I feel like now I'm back where I belong. Tell me a little bit about what the role of culture and heritage plays in the educational process, and from your own personal experience, the experience of your students, why is it so important for you to be here, giving back in this community?
Yeah, that's such a great question. My grandparents, similar to what you shared about your grandparents having taken a huge role in raising you, my grandparents did too. And my grandparents came here from Puerto Rico to work and to make a better situation for their families. And so I actually lived, my mom, she was a young mom too. So we lived with my grandparents and I got to see so much. And I love just thinking about this because grandparents are such an influential piece of our upbringing. They bring the wisdom, they bring the experience, and it's such a gift to have had that experience with them. But I watched my grandpa work so hard, and my grandmother worked as well. And I heard the stories of resilience, and I heard the stories that they encountered with discrimination. And it's just, they built such a pride of my work ethic. They built a pride of our culture and background because we grew up in a house where my grandparents only spoke Spanish. And then my mom and her young siblings spoke English. So we were getting a lot of Spanglish. And but there was always a sense of pride and being a great representative, because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing everyone. from Puerto Rico. Everyone that has brown skin, you're a representation of that. And so the way that you present yourself has to be in a way that is respectable. It has to be in a way that can be emulated by others. And so I had that great example growing up. And I remember even on my dad's side, and I didn't, he wasn't always there, but there were small moments that I remember being little, and he used to do the t-shirt pressing at the Humboldt Park Puerto Rican Parade, and he sold the t-shirts there. I remember being like 5 years old, and I was wearing a shirt that said, "I'm a little Puerto Rican," and so that was always a part of my upbringing. And so being a part of something that your family taught you to love, and then translating that now into the work environment, and I had a moment actually not too long ago at Allen where we had a young set of parents come in, and one, it was a Black woman and a Latino male. And they, anytime we had a new family, like I was racing to the front because I wanted to meet them and welcome them. And so I could hear my AP talking and saying, "Oh, you guys are new." And I was like, "Oh, there I go. I'm going to meet the family." And I curled around the corner, and he was saying, "Oh, and here's our principal." And they looked at each other, and they said, "Oh, that's your principal? She looks like us." And to me, that was more than an accolade. That was more than an award. That was, I am a representative showing the children that I work with that they can be in this role. And I often told my students that, like, I want you to take my job. I want you to be in this seat, and you're created for greatness. And our students, particularly our Black and brown students, they need to see people that look like them in these positions so that they know that they can aspire to do the same thing. And I think it's huge because that sense of pride and allowing them and bringing that heritage and culture into the educational process is one of the greatest and most impactful things for students. And I always look at it as we need to provide our students with window and mirror opportunities. Windows so that they're learning about the differences around them, and they're learning new things, and they're learning different perspectives. But the mirror is that they need to see themselves in the content. They need to see themselves in the curriculum. They need to see themselves so that they can connect to it. And when you connect and you have a kid that's interested in the content, then whoa, they're gonna excel. And they're going to reach their full potential, which is a huge part of the vision of Dr. Norell, is we want each student to reach their full potential. And I will go ahead and throw it to Guzman because she's Executive Director of Language Acquisition. But what our district is doing with the dual language program is so special because it's giving the Spanish language a positive twist. It's giving the Spanish language a place where it is valued, where it is a resource, and it's not something where, because growing up, I had a teacher here and there say, "No, you guys can't speak Spanish in the classroom." With the work that she's doing in our district, Spanish has a place, and it's a positive place.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Pride is extremely important. One of the reasons that I go to schools to visit little kids and let them know that I'm a mayor and I'm a lawyer is so they can see someone that looks like them, that achieves and successful, someone that grew up in low-income housing, similar to many of them that we come in contact with, some of them that may have single parents, like many of the young people we come in contact with. I want to let them know that I'm no different, I'm no better, I'm cut from the same cloth, and if I can do it, so can they. And it's about them seeing that mirror, as you pointed out, and that pride in who we are as Black and brown. Talking about pride, Rita, and I'm going to say this because this is important. I'm going to say Dr. Rita Guzman, pride. Talking about pride, Dr. Guzman, when someone looks at you and sees that, you're a PhD, and how hard you've worked to rise up, talk to us a little bit about what role culture and heritage plays in educational process and, your experiences and how it affects your students.
Most definitely. Piggybacking off, Jalitza and Victor, I had the same experience. I'm first generation. My father and mother had a 3rd, 5th grade education, not speaking English. My parents divorced. My mother was 45, didn't know how to drive. We didn't have a vehicle. We were walking to the laundromat. We had all those experiences. I had all the factors that would go against anyone, surviving, all those factors. But I knew, and when I would drive by or when the bus would drive by and see the nice homes, I said, what do I need to do to be able to achieve that? And I knew, it's still sentimental to me just because I knew in my mind that the only way that I could be able to get out of poverty was education. Education was my door because I investigated on what I needed to do, how much did I need to make to be able to get out of poverty. But my drive, my energy focused on not just getting myself out of poverty, but getting everybody else in my community out of poverty, but at the same time, without losing who we were, the pride of, just like Jalitza stated, of who we are, a piece of who we are. And that's why I value dual language so much, because when we ask students to eliminate their native language or put a block towards it, we are asked, it's a subtractive model, and we want it to be an additive model. We want it to bring part of their culture. We don't want to take that piece away from them. And I would say that that's what drove me into really wanting to continue my education. And, once I had that second master's, I was like, should I really do that doctorate?
That second master's, you said second master's. That's what I'm talking about.
I had a professor tap me on the shoulder and he said, you're 1 in a million. And I said, no, I'm not, and he said, no, you are a female Latina, and, getting her PhD, and I, at that time, I was like, I don't know if I want to get into debt. I don't know if I want to do this. And I started doing a little bit of research. And when I saw that, and, other students were looking at what I was doing, just the mirror that you're talking about, Jalitza, I said, no, I have to go for it. And I decided to go for it. And I have had a very supportive pillar at home that is my spouse that has pushed me to move forward. And to me, East Aurora School District values language so much that I knew that this was my home. And I have to tell you, Mayor, when I drove into the city for the first time and I saw taxi, Durango, welcome Michoacan, I paid attention to those details, and I said, this is my home. This is my home. This is where I want to be. So I fight to be here. I fight to be able to advocate for our students. So I thank you for allowing me to serve the community. And as I was driving today, there has been so much that has grown and moving forward in the community as I have been here I'm going on 5 years. We call that sophomore in college. I definitely can relate to both of them. And I would say that was my biggest factor. And just like Jalitza was stating, we really want to reach students where they're at, in the sense of, we're going to teach fractions. We're going to teach fractions with a pizza and a tortilla, something that relates to students, where we could get closer to them. We want to be able to tell our parents, look, my mom cleaned schools. I would be in school sometimes 10 hours because my mom cleaned in the evenings. So my mom sacrificed that so that I could be able to be here today. So I had the honor to be able to teach in those classrooms that my mom cleaned. So that to me is a great honor. And I hope our students can reflect and see that, and that they can do it. So, and another piece that we're trying to infuse into our curriculum is nostalgia. Dr. Norell has a vision on making sure that we meet our students' needs and being able to reconnect them to their past. Nostalgia will connect you when you had the stories of your grandparents making tortillas, making paposas, whatever it is, we are trying to make those connections so that we can reach students and they could have a deeper understanding of the content that we are trying to have students understand and comprehend and have a long lasting experience with.
You said something that was powerful. You taught in the classes that your mother used to clean. Wow. That is powerful, that to be able to go from that to where you've come, 2 masters and a PhD. Congratulations on your success. And I know it's just, you're not done. You still got a lot of work to do. And there are so many young kids, Black and brown, that are relying on you to continue the hard work and fighting that good fight. Now, something else you said that, struck me. You said someone tapped you on the shoulder and said you're one in a million. I remember when I was in just finishing up undergrad, a teacher told me, actually, I just started law school. A teacher told me that based on my background and where I was coming from, that I was the exception to the rule. Now, she didn't mean anything bad by it, I don't think, this white teacher, but when she said that, I was so offended. Why does the rule have to be that we are a product of our environment? Why can't we be more than that? Why can't we be more than the circumstances, that we're born in? And I think everybody on this screen shows that we absolutely can be. And that, takes me to my next question. Let's talk about how we can do what we can do as a community to move Aurora forward, Aurora Avanzando, through education with our children and families. What should we be doing as a community to help our educators more? Victor?
One thing, and my parents, when we talk about our parents and the nostalgia factor, it's so true. I can hear my father with a bill at the doctor, and to this day, right? A ver qué dice, which is like, what does it say here? Because as a children, as a first generation children, we're the ones who were translating. We were that bridge between the schools and our families, and many times that's just a cultural thing. That our families, it wasn't that they didn't find a place in the schools. It was that mentality of los maestros saben, los directores saben, that we were the educated ones, the ones in the schools were the educated ones. And I think as educators on both sides of this river for the city, one way that we can advance is by making our buildings welcoming, by saying, no, we're here as guides. This is your school, familias. You're welcome here as much as everyone else. You're welcome to be part of our transactions. We've done some great things here at Washington. We had a loteria night. It was such a success. So it was a math focused night. We invited families in. We played loteria, something that people were familiar with. People felt welcome. We had tacos. It was just a place that it was like a get together for families. And that's what it was. Because even in my day, I remember that it was you would have, whose school it was. And you almost felt at times like if you were just visiting. And it shouldn't be that way. Our building should be welcoming to all our families, to what I call all our clientele, because that's who we are as Aurora, that's who we are as a country. And when you do those, when you make those steps, it just takes ownership. Then it's a place that is safe, that you're sending us the very best you have. You're sending us your muchachas, right? And they're ours for a lot of times, longer than you'll see them when you get home from work, longer than you'll see them after, right before bedtime. And so we have to make sure that we're taking care, but that we're also welcoming to the families. Things like simple things like conferences at night, knowing that people work, even Zoom. If you want to take something good about last year or the last year and a half, being able now to communicate at times that are not always the traditional 9 to 5 that people may not be working. Those little turns of the dial get us closer to the goal. And the goal is that we want the absolute best for our families, for our city, for our schools.
Absolutely. We deserve the absolute best, and we demand it. And you guys making sure we work toward it. Jalitza, what do you think we can do as a community to move Aurora forward, through education with our children and families? And what should we be doing as a community to help our educators even more?
So this brings me to the phrase, each one, teach one. And I just remember having the personal experience.
Say that one more time.
I remember having the personal.
No, the first, but you said.
Oh, each one, teach one.
Each one, teach one. Got it.
Each one, teach one.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because a lot of times we have our students in front of us, and this could be in the community, or in community organizations, or even in community businesses. We have the youth in front of us, and we just need to tap into the skills that they have and pull them on as young as possible. And I remember I think I was a senior in high school. I had just graduated, actually, and I was about 18 or 19 when I was pulled on to my first board, and it was the Aurora Puerto Rican Cultural Council. And I was sitting on the board with lots of veteran people who were amazing. They'd been in their careers forever. And I was like, oh my gosh. But if it wasn't for the leaders on that board to have pulled me in my rawest moment of, I knew very little about the board participation. I knew very little about community organizing. But if we can just look at our youth and look at them from the lens of, these are our future leaders. They have skills now. Let's build upon the skills that they have. And that truly put me in rooms with community leaders like Myrna Lopez Rivera. It put me in the room with people like Iris. It put me in the room with a lot of different people. And I had a window opportunity to see, and all these different leadership positions. And then it became a non-negotiable for me. Okay, like Rita said, I'm going to get my education. I'm going to finish my degree. I'm going to do this. But if we expose our youth, if the community can look at our youth as their own and really take them and teach them and show them the way, it goes back to the phrase, it takes a village. And if it wasn't for my village, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And my village was in church. My village was in my family. My village was in the community. My village was, it was huge. And so I think every child needs a village that cares for them, that guides them, that saves them from taking on another path. And so I think if we look at our youth and hey, you know what? I made a lot of mistakes. And I remember I couldn't get away with anything because it wasn't just my mom. My mom is phenomenal. She's great. She had a really strong hold on her kids. But even if I thought it got past my mom, my uncle was like, excuse me? And even if I thought it got past him, I had people in the community who were like, wait a minute, hold on. So I think if we just come together and we look at all of the children as our children and our future, Aurora will be in great hands.
Absolutely. All of the children are all of ours, they're all our future. Got to all recognize that.
Yep.
And Rita, I'll let you answer that question as well. What can we do as a community to move Aurora forward through education with our children and families? And what should we be doing as a community to help educators more?
I truly believe that we continue to try to reach our students, not suppress their language, let them be who they are, let them value their roots as we know that, it's very cultural based in the sense of extended family to be part of a child's upbringing, allow them, encourage them to believe in them. I think believing in them that, like you stated, that someone tapped you, someone tapped me, and I had the negative aspects too. Don't get pregnant. Oh, I know that she meant it in a good way. Don't get pregnant. Okay, I understood that. It's just continue to believe in our students, because our students are our future community. They are our current community. They are part of their parents. They are part of their. And I would say, as I run and lead the Bilingual Parent Advisory, we have over 250 parents coming to our meetings, just there for support, for us to guide them. Like Victor said, they believe in us, they trust us. We have to do right by them and right by their students. Don't criticize any mother. I know my mom was very criticized for things she did, but it isn't that she didn't care. She just worked evenings, so she couldn't attend parent-teacher conferences. So don't criticize. On the contrary, support that individual. I see moms walking down the street, carrying groceries, carrying laundry. Let's assist them, not criticize them, and support them in any way that we can, because they have children at home that we house, making sure our children are fed and that they're given the highest education possible. And with dual language, I truly believe that we are bringing equity to all, even though the mother can't come tap on our door or make that phone call or fill that application out for their child to receive that elite strand of education. We're offering it to all. And that I feel extremely proud of us introducing foreign language in third grade, because we do want all of our students. We want all our brown and black and white children. We want everyone to be able to be exposed to a second language, to have the same opportunities, to have that same opportunity at that job interview. We represent 37 languages, and as Victor stated, working very closely with World Relief, and the amount of newcomers and refugees that we have received has tremendously increased. And we grew by over 100 this year, and for us to be able to service 37 languages and just help those families and try to reach them, to be able to have that, connect with them and give them the support that they need. I think that's where we need to be at, to continue to move Aurora forward.
Aurora avanzando. Absolutely.
Avanzando.
Let's move Aurora forward. Jalitza, I'm gonna start with you with this next question, and this is one that's deep. That your answers will could affect children, not just now but into the future. And hopefully we have a number of folks listening, and other teachers will maybe use this half hour, 45-minute spot to show their kids what they can be, because you guys are so successful in everything that you do, and where you've come from, and where you've gotten and where you're going. This is inspiring. It's so inspirational. Jalitza, what advice would you pass along to students as they continue to move forward in life?
So there's lots, and a lot came from my grandma, right? My grandma has all the refranes, all the consejos, the advice. But I will say that one of the biggest things, if I knew what I know now, fear is very paralyzing. Fear can be very paralyzing. And what I would tell the youth is to do it, even if you're scared. And on the other side of that is opportunity. On the other side of that is, it can be something beautiful. And so I know there was a lot of situations where I was afraid, or I felt like I didn't deserve, or I didn't belong. Or, what does the little Latina, what right does she have to be here? And so I want them to overcome that fear and know that they do belong, and those opportunities, they do deserve them. You guys do deserve the opportunities. You deserve to be in the rooms with others that are making huge decisions. You deserve to have the opportunities. You deserve to be leaders. And I think a lot of times, we go through this place of second guessing ourselves, or again, the fear that paralyzes us. And so instead we don't do it because we're afraid that we might fail. And failure is a part of success. And so you have to make those mistakes, and you go through those growing pains. And one of the things that you said about Aurora Eats is it involves public speaking. And I remember that I had people, again, going back to each one, teach one, my family, people in the community, who put me in these positions that I would be terrified of. And if it wasn't for those, then I wouldn't have grown into the person that I am today. And so I know that things can be scary. I know that things can, you may feel like you're undeserving, or you don't belong, or you feel like you're an imposter in the situation, and you're not. There's a purpose for you. You deserve to be there. We need you. We need our young Latinos, and we need our young African Americans to be in these positions, to be in these rooms, to speak on behalf of people who haven't built the skills to speak for themselves. So be fearless. Walk into the rooms, even if you don't know, you pretend you know, and you will gain that knowledge. And I just, if it wasn't for all of that, and the last thing that I'll say is, my mom was pivotal in that, do it even if you're scared. And she would push me into situations that I didn't want to do. She pushed me into tennis. I'm like, I don't want to play tennis. She's like, you're going to play tennis. I ended up playing tennis for college. I was the first singles at Aurora University, but I was terrified when I started, because first I thought it was boring, and then I thought, I don't want to play this sport, and I ended up loving it. I tell her now, please don't speak anything else into existence, because I can't take much more. Because when I was a social worker, she would say, like, well, I could see you as an assistant principal. I'm like, never. I became an assistant principal. She's like, I could see you as a principal. I'm like, never. I became a principal. So I said, just don't say anything else, because right now I'm good.
Wow, that's great. You'd be surprised at how fear could could stop people from moving, debilitate you. And I agree with you. You got to fake it till you make it, even if you're not, sure about it, just act like you are, act like you belong. Because oftentimes when you're Black and brown, like we are, you don't feel like you belong, or others make you feel as though you don't belong, and you form this fear, like you're not comfortable in your position. And when I first became a lawyer, you would be surprised. I was embarrassed and I was scared at being a lawyer and telling people in the community that I was a lawyer. It took a while for me to get used to it. When I became mayor, walking up the street from where I parked my car, to City Hall, I didn't feel like it was right. It was supposed to be me. It was supposed to be me in this office. And I had to learn, how to get used to being, in control and in power, and defeat the fear. And the only way to defeat it is to, look it dead in the eyes and face it down and say, I'm not going to let fear stop me from overcoming and being who I can be, who we could be. So that, it's very important that those are very, very, very important points that you made, and sage advice for our young people. Rita, what would you pass along to the students, as we continue to move forward? What advice did someone give you that you'd like to give our young people now?
I would say I'm going to agree with Jalitza. The fear, the unknown, that you have it in you. Keep going for it. Dream big. Be humble. Always be who you are. Have always good intentions in anything that you do. Don't give up. Set goals for yourself, and big goals, small goals, so that you could be able to achieve them. There's a whole crowd. We have your back. We're here to cheer you on, and us paying it forward would be most definitely mentoring a lot of these students. We look for that individual that that is there for you. We're always here to be able to support you. Be focused. Always be yourself. Carry your values and your morals. I think that stood very strong with me. I knew very strong my morals and my values were very rooted in every decision that I made. So I think that would be something major that we continue to provide to our students. And Victor, you touched on making sure that we have a risk-free environment, having that that welcoming environment, and I would say creating environments that are very welcoming, so that our students can approach us and our community could approach us with any fear or any unknown that they are hesitant to take on.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Very, very powerful. Victor, what advice would you pass along to students as they continue to move forward in life?
Those are two hard acts to follow, because that's such great advice. Really, it's something I've been telling my students since I was a bilingual teacher. And I see so much frustration sometimes because students want to learn a language like that because they equate learning English with success. They equate it with rising above. And I always said to them, it may be hard, but it's not impossible. So es difícil, pero no es imposible. And I told them, I'm a very intelligent person, 2 masters, not a PhD yet. I like to finish that with the yet.
Exactly right.
But I said, if I was placed, taken, from my home or moved from my home and went to Osaka, Japan, and in 6 months' time was asked to take the same tests there, to order food there, I may get some of it, but I'm not going to get all of it. With time, it would come to me. But that's not a symbol of my intelligence. And so that language acquisition, that frustration that I see in my families or my students, I always tell them, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. And keep moving forward and to make sure you learn from the mistakes. And this is a borrowed one, but it's so true. Because when we talk about the 1 in a million, when we talk about the exception to the rule, I look back at my life. I look back at where I grew up. I look back at my friends. I look back at just things that were in my life. The harder I worked, the luckier I was. Because there are times when I look back and I don't know if it's survivor's guilt. I don't know if it's that I'm here now and I'm able to have that 2020, that Monday morning quarterbacking that I had. And I look back and say, man, I was really lucky because I made some mistakes. I stumbled along the way. I was this close to maybe having that life-altering moment that there's no coming back from, right? And why was I lucky? Well, I worked hard. I also knew that I had a mom and a dad at home that had high expectations for me, and they were at times they were scarier than anything in the hood. So I knew I got to get home. I can't be here. So things like that, that the harder you work, the luckier you become. And that our dream is to not be the one in the millions, to be the exception to the rule. I want my students to be, that's the norm. We have that joy, we have that complexity, we have that curiosity here in West Aurora. That's the norm. That's what we want. The same way our parents, like we've talked about it, left everything because they knew they wanted the norm here. They wanted students, they wanted kids that were going to move ahead avanzar.
Absolutely. Powerful, powerful, powerful. You know, you said so many things that ring true. There's nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible if we put our minds and hearts to it and do the hard work to get the job done. We just got to be willing to put the work in, and nothing is impossible. Any goal we want to reach, anything we can dream about that we want to become, we will become that if we work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. Clayton,
Sir.
you know, I bet you got a lot of folks out there that are watching that are commenting on this, man. And tell you know what are people saying out there in the community?
Yeah, Mayor, most definitely. You already know this is your 39th conversation, and you see the impact in 45 minutes that these three have had. And if they look on social media, the comments are just coming nonstop, just thanking you for being so open, so honest, so vulnerable. For talking about things like survivor guilt, like imposter syndrome. One lady said we get professionals who just don't talk about that part of professional life, that you still have things to work on when you get to the levels of success. Another married lady said she started taking notes and just realized that she didn't need the whole transcript because everything was a jewel that everybody said. So she couldn't even take notes on the nuggets because everything was a nugget. So thank you all. Just we do have one, I think, series of questions. I see two people have asked the same type of thing. It says, you serve as leaders of thousands, examples for thousands in Aurora. What do you do personally for your mental health to encourage yourself to stay strong, to really come out each day with what you're bringing to the table?
Rita?
I today drove back from, I was early in the morning, was at the bilingual directors conference, and that gave me the boost after a pandemic and not being at a conference, to be surrounded with directors that are advocating for the same goals. That gave me energy. I could tell you personally, professionally, that and the opportunities that obviously Dr. Norrell and Dr. Campbell and all the senior administration provide for me, honestly, give me a great boost, even being here today with all of you. Thank you for that, because even the comments that you were just saying, Clayton, that boosts my energy to continue to move forward in my mission. And personally, I would say, honestly, leaving the phone for a little bit, getting away from technology and just spending time with my family and my children, and just seeing them smile and laugh fills me with energy to continue, because I feel that my children are fortunate and I want to be able to provide the same for many others.
Victor?
You know, if we're going to talk about family influence, my mental health thrives on good food and great music. There are days where I need my 90s hip hop and I just gotta throw some Biggie in. There are days where I need my corridos, and I'll walk my dogs and just listen to some Carlos San Jose and think about my dad, my grandpa, my mom, and all their favorite songs. We're a music loving, food loving family, and that's what gets me through sometimes, knowing that I got some good eats and some good music. And really what it does is it connects me once again. It's that tie back in, right? Those songs that nostalgia that Dr. Rita Guzman talked about, of my music, my food, knowing that sazon, that seasoning, all of that. That's my mental health: cooking, eating, and music. And if I can get all three in one day, it's a good day.
Jalitza?
That's funny. You said everything I was going to say. It shouldn't be a surprise that I like to eat, and I love music, and I love family. And so really taking care of myself. I know that we work really hard. We put in a lot of hours. And so going home, I have a 1-year-old and I have a 10-year-old. and seeing their faces and just being able to even give them a hug when I get home, and talking to my oldest, and baby talking with my youngest. Those are things that bring me joy, that ground me, they remind me of the why behind the work. And I do like cooking. It was something that I did with my grandpa. My grandpa taught me so many different traditional Puerto Rican recipes. So I love cooking for him. He's really sick right now, so I love cooking for him. But that kind of, with the music in the background, of course, you can't forget about the music. And, you know, I think music is just healing. And, you know, whatever the mood is, I play the music that matches it. So I might play salsa la India, or I might play, you know, reggaeton. So it's, you know, just it calms me.
You know, let me tell you something that, you know, what calms me and makes me and gives me energy to get up every day and do what I do is knowing that people just like you exist in Aurora and are moving us forward. Because of you, you know, we are actually making a difference in education throughout this whole city. You guys do an amazing job. And like that teacher said to me, you know, that white lady said to me, that white teacher said that, you know, I'm an exception to the rule. None of us are exception to the rules, because you guys are changing the rules every single day with every child that walks the door of your school. So thank you for every single thing you do. I really appreciate it. You give me strength. Thank you, Jolly. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Victor, for all you do every day to assist our families and to move Aurora forward. I look forward to getting back in the schools and visiting you and your teachers and students, you know, as soon as we can.
Thank you.
know, and you guys did a wonderful job today. You know, Aurora, next Wednesday at noon, we'll be joined by Latinx medical professionals. So I look forward to you joining us. You guys did a great job. We'll see you soon. Bye now.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Bye-bye, thank you.